got ourselves a bit of a fighter, eh?
Well, hey, what up, Rockstars? It's me. I'm not on Borderlands 3 today because Gearbox have stopped my constant flow of money into my bloodstream, which means I no longer have to say good things about Borderlands 3. No, but seriously, today we are going to be talking about MorninAfterKill, because it's exactly what he wants, and no one else is going to do it, so why don't I just come in here and brief everyone. I want to start by saying that I wasn't planning on making this video because I know that it is exactly what Mac wants. However, it is clear that he is not going to stop. And so because of that, I'm not going to sit by and let someone drag people's names and defame people in this community and try to manipulate, gaslight and lie to their viewers and then have them people go and attack said creators. Very frequently I have heard Mac telling people who claim he is defaming creators to take him to court. And so that's what we're going to do today, because in the court of the public opinion you shall be judged, Mac, as we are going to lay down all of the facts that you have obfuscated numerous times, as you have covered and tried to take down numerous creators for supposedly letting you hang out to dry. Now, again, just before we get started here, I'm going to make this clear that this is not a drama video, because we don't do drama around here. What this is just simply laying out all of the facts which up until this point have been ignored for obvious reasons, but I am not going to do that. We're going to put it all on show today. So strap in and let's catch you up to date. So, MorninAfterKill was a very, very prominent creator during the Borderlands 2 days, as I'm sure some of you are already well aware. However, in early 2020, I believe it was, during Borderlands 3's kinda rocky page, I guess you could say, it was kinda doing good, kinda doing bad. It wasn't like they were bleeding crazy players, but the game definitely needed to move in a better direction. Mac was invited into a private call or meeting with people from 2K and other Borderlands creators who were under an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement. And within this call, they were being showed a bunch of future content plans. Now, I'm not going to show all of this because obviously it would get me in a lot of trouble because it is confidential information. However, it is now public knowledge at this point that within that call, they were showcasing things they wanted to do inside of Borderlands 3. And one of them was a system which is very akin to a battle pass. Now, something that's important to know is that Mac was not under any form of NDA, while he absolutely should have been. And for whatever reason, he decided to record this entire call and then make a video on his outrage at what he had learned. Now, shortly after this video went up, obviously news circulated very quickly, and a few things happened. Firstly, what happened is the people who he got this information from, being 2K, very, very quickly had his video taken down. They went over there and took it down. Obviously, being confidential information, it was not allowed to be out there. How they did not sue him, I do not know, but I'm gonna guess it's probably because the 2K representative did not NDA him. This obviously made a major loophole and allowed Mac to get off scot-free, and I believe shortly after, this person at 2K, who I'm not gonna name, they actually were fired. At least to my knowledge. Now, as for the other creators in that call, like I told you, they were under NDA and obviously could not confirm or deny these things. Them being showcased in this video in itself was a major risk, but yeah, they couldn't speak out, they couldn't say this is true or this is false, they couldn't say anything because legally they cannot. Their hands are tied. And for those of you who are unaware, this is a very, very common practice, especially when you are working with content creators, is to NDA them so this information does not get out like Mac allowed it to. I want to once again make it clear that the reason no creators came to back up Mac's claims of the Battle Pass being true is because they were under non-disclosure agreements. This means they cannot talk about any of the details shared to them at any point when it involves confidential information. And this is something which, again, Mac has completely obfuscated from every single video he has made, and this is basically where his path of terror began. He felt burned and he felt like he was thrown under the bus by other creators, that he was, again, hung out to dry because they wouldn't break their NDAs for him. And ever since this point, Mac has been running his mouth over and over and over again, claiming that everybody associated with 2K and Gearbox, that being content creators, are paid shills, that they are paid monthly paychecks, and they are paid to not say anything negative, let's push that down, anything negative about the Borderlands franchise, that they are never allowed to criticize it. Numerous times, Mac has been faced with facts which completely nullify his entire argument, but being the professional gaslighter that he is, he continues to spin it and try to get people on his side so that they can go and attack these content creators, because that is his end goal here. Since he was hung out to dry, in his own words, he now wants to get revenge by striking back at all of these content creators. Now, I've got to say, Mac, because I know you're reacting to this video, I wasn't going to make a video on you, because I'm sorry to say, I don't care about you. You are a flash in the pan, a has-been, somebody who refuses to let their past go. You had your time in the community, you blew your trust, and that is it. I don't care about you, Mac. However, in your video, which you made on me, thanks for the free promotion by the way, you did something which I just thought was so incredibly foolish, and that's when I kind of decided, okay, sure, fine, I'll bite. I'll talk about you since it's what you want so much. Now, in this video, you did exactly what I thought you were going to do with your predictable mindset. You took shots at Redux, and fair enough. I mean, yeah, we only reached 0.003% of the community, or whatever you said. But you said something that was really, really funny about Redux. You said that I made Redux because I was too scared to actually get change in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, so I made the mod so that I wouldn't lose my paycheck. Oh god. And yeah, I mean, that's really where I decided that you have lost your mind, brother. You have truly lost your mind. Mac, I figured, since you obviously didn't do the research yourself, you'd want to know that since the launch of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, in just that year alone, I had made over 40 tweets criticizing the game, and I had made over 10 videos criticizing the game. And that doesn't include all of the separate feedback I personally sent off to Gearbox devs and representatives from 2K to push to Gearbox devs. This also does not include any of the other feedback that other content creators also did. I was basically the poster child for the Clawbringer for a lot of time, and very, very openly criticized Gearbox's very poor handling of the class post-launch. One of the things I hear Max saying a lot is that content creators need to use their voice publicly for the greater good to actually get change done. They need to rally their communities against developers. And while I do think there is actually some merit in what Mac's saying, he uses it like a war-waging hit piece against creators to say that they don't speak up, and push that back down, that they don't talk to developers publicly through their channels to try and get change done. Specifically when talking about me, Mac, I believe you left out the video where I criticized the nerf apocalypse in Wonderlands, and I think you left out the video where I called for changes to Clawbringer, which, oh, wait, they put them in the game. What I'm not going to do in this video though, Mac, is obfuscate details like you've been doing to make myself look better. Because unlike you, Mac, I've got nothing to hide. So, for those of you who are unaware, just to be clear, I, EpicNNG, did receive sponsored posts during Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. That means I received something in the proverbial land of benefits given to content creators to post about the game. However, in Mac's head, he believes this means that I, and many other creators like myself, were unable to speak negatively about the game, despite there being endless videos, not just by myself, but other people and tweets telling Gearbox that the way they were handling Wonderlands was poor. A lot of people took issue with the treatment of Wonderlands at launch. But this isn't Mac's focal point. His focal point is Borderlands 3, where he again claims that people, specifically Killer 6, were paid to not say anything bad about the game, and even claims that K6 is still paid to this very day, believe it or not, nearly 4 years after the game came out. Or actually, I think we're past 4 years at this point, to play it. He thinks K6 receives monthly paychecks to play Borderlands 3 to this day and not say anything bad about it. But this is where we move into the realm of defamatory statements. Mac also claims that K6 and Jolts never once disclosed their sponsorship or partnership with Gearbox and 2K, that they never once told people they were on the content creator or stream team. For those of you that don't know, when Borderlands 3 first launched, a lot of high-end creators were given sponsored deals with Gearbox and 2K to stream Borderlands 3. Like kind of a sponsored integration, but more of a live stream. Mac claims that K6 specifically did not disclose this partnership. This is a lie. This is a defamatory statement. K6 numerous times informed his viewers very clearly that he was both on the Borderlands stream team and also included sponsored in any of the stream titles where it was applicable. Believe it or not, Mac, but because somebody is part of a stream team where they occasionally receive sponsored deals, they don't need to put the sponsor tag in every single stream title or every single tweet where they praise a game. Aside from that, Mac also claims that K6 in particular not once said anything bad about Borderlands 3 and never tried to make the game better because he was too scared of losing his paycheck. This is yet again another lie disproven by K6's very own videos and tweets where he was very spoken up about the issues in Borderlands 3. Most of you might actually remember that it was K6 who brought up the issue of there being really bad rare spawns and no dedicated drops in Borderlands 3. He numerous times spoke up about this issue until it was fixed. But don't just take my word for it, because there are even Gearbox employees and former 2K employees who have spoken out and literally vouched for the work K6 puts in behind the scenes. Mac also claims that during Wonderlands, K6 did the same thing, not speaking out about the issues in the game because he was too scared of losing out on his paycheck. This is yet again another lie that has been twisted to make K6 look bad. There are numerous videos and tweets from K6 where he very openly criticizes Wonderlands. And just because I know that what you're gonna say, Mac, is
yeah, but he didn't say that he was paid to be a part of the stream team.
My brother, he does not have to. So long as he is disclosing that he is sponsored for the posts in question or the streams in question, which he did, or any form of other material connection to the brand, in this case 2K, he is complying with FTC guidelines. He does not need to go into the specifics of his contract, which, by the way, most likely would have been NDA'd. You may feel that you are entitled to know how many millions of dollars you think he was getting paid in his contract, but he does not need to tell his viewers that. That is between him and whoever he signed that contract with. It is not information for him to make public because that could very well be a breach of his contract. Now, I'm sure, Mac, you're going to dance around what I'm saying about K6 and that you actually meant that he didn't disclose he was part of the stream team specifically on his streams, because you seem to be some kind of expert on FTC regulations and wanting to have K6 sent to jail for a small mistake that he maybe made in your head. It's all incredibly hilarious because you yourself have admitted to not disclosing sponsorships in the past. And yet, K6 has shown you some kindness despite everything you're trying to put him through by not trying to prosecute you and target you with 40 videos because he just doesn't think it's worth it. And yet you consistently try to latch on to try and bring him down simply because you feel you were wronged because he wouldn't break an NDA to confirm your leaks of a battle pass. It's all incredibly silly. Now, one thing I am going to address, because I know Mac is eventually going to bring it up, is that back in 2014 or around that time, he signed a contract with 2K, or at least was presented with a contract by 2K, which said that he should not play competitors' games, and that he would also get over $3,000 a month or something like that to consistently play Borderlands. Brother, let me tell you right now, if I was presented with that contract, I would have taken it in a heartbeat, and you would be insane not to. I hate to tell you the Tooth Fairy isn't real, but content creation is a job, and if I was guaranteed $3,000 a month to play only Borderlands, I would do it. However, sadly, your emails from 2014 don't hold up as well nearly 10 years later, where stuff like that just doesn't really happen that much anymore, unless you're someone like Asmongold. Although, of course, at that point, you would be getting a lot more than $3,000. If 2K and Gearbox are running a PSYOP and getting creators to only play Borderlands and not other competitors, then Moxie is in real trouble for playing Diablo, Elden Ring and more. And Jolt streaming Binding of Isaac is probably going to get him shot in the back of the head by Agent 47. If it's confusing to you as the viewer why Mac is bringing up old contracts from nearly 10 years ago, it's because his actual argument in current day is so extremely weak that he feels the need to try and double down with irrelevant information to try and damn people and get others on his side. I do also think it's important to note that, again, Mac, you seem to think that I was shilling for Wonderlands just because I said in my early access review the game was great. Well, I hate to break it to you, but that review was filmed on a demo setup, which I disclose in the video, where we were only allowed access to Mount Craw and maybe got to level 15 at most. So yes, I would like to echo what I said back then. Based off of my experience with that demo, it was great. But I really do want to just retouch on the topic of content creators are paid into silence by Gearbox and 2K, because it's a sentiment that I've seen Mac echoing a lot. And I've also seen people who are watching, sniffing paint and believing his videos parroting around the community, to the point where Thick-Fillet even went out of his way to describe what a non-disparagement agreement was. And while there were some errors in his video, for the most part, he was correct. Now, just for the record, I don't like Thick-Fillet. This isn't a drama video, but I don't think the guy is a cool dude. I don't vibe with him, but that doesn't mean that what he said is simply invalidated. Like Thick-Fillet outlined in his video, yes, in numerous sponsored deals that creators tend to take on, there is typically something called a non-disparagement agreement. This is public knowledge. This is not a mystery. This isn't the Illuminati of the music industry. It is pretty common knowledge that there is a non-disparagement agreement. Now, what does this mean? It means that you are very much encouraged to be honest and get your opinions out there with a game as much as you please. Go ham, go hog wild. Tell everybody that you do not appreciate the poop jokes in Borderlands 3. However, the moment you start slandering, defaming, and harassing employees from the organization who may be tied to the game you are covering, you enter that realm of the forbidden food, where you could have your contract, if you have a contract to begin with, I would assume you do if you're in a non-disparagement agreement, terminated. Because that is what they see as harmful behavior. That is basically what a non-disparagement agreement is. Now, I'm not a law expert. I'm sure I'm going to be dragged on this. I'm sure, Mac, when you're cooking up your 46th response video, you're going to be schooling me on what a non-disparagement agreement is. But for those of you watching, it's not that deep. It's basically what it is. Just don't shit talk the company. You can go out of your way and see you don't like a game, which if you follow me during Wonderlands, you know I've done my fair share of that. But yes, it basically means don't go around slandering the company. Don't go around trying to tank the reputation of the game simply because you don't like that your favorite gun does 1 damage. That is, in a nutshell, what a non-disparagement agreement is. Now, what is also public knowledge is that nowadays a lot of sponsored integrations, and this isn't just for games, it can be for promoting a TV show or a music festival or whatever it may be, in a lot of these contracts there is an honesty clause. I'm sure that's not the correct term for it, but it basically just tells you not to lie. The reason this exists is because lying is bad. If you are promoting something and taking money for something and you are lying about it, you can land the company in a lot of hot water. So having an honesty clause in there prevents that from happening. It prevents me from going out and saying that Wonderlands is the best Borderlands experience of all time, and that if you do get it, guess what's going to happen? you get 5 new Xboxes if you complete the campaign. That right there is a very, very harmful statement to say if I'm doing a sponsored activation, because I could potentially land them in hot water. If a higher up from 2K sees that EpicNNG did a paid activation on the game and said that at the end of the game you get 5 Xboxes and this is all done through 2K's money scheme, and that right there is entering legal hot water that could get that company in trouble. It could get the person who gave EpicNNG that sponsored activation in trouble. So yes, in a lot of companies there tends to be honesty clauses. Now, let me make it clear, this is not direct confirmation of any company in question having these clauses, but what I'm saying is that in a lot of cases these things exist to prevent issues happening that Mac has been directly accusing people of doing. No, K6 is not paid into silence to go out there and say nothing but good things about Borderlands 3 to try and skyrocket sales. And no, EpicNNG did not make Wonderlands Redux to further inflate the sales of Wonderlands and make this big corporate god complex grow a million times stronger. We are just simply enjoying or not enjoying games. Now, one of the other things I have heard Max saying a lot is, well, if you're going to take credit for getting Mayhem changed into Mayhem 2.0 in Borderlands 3 K6, then that means you're taking credit for ruining the game. Let me just explain this also. In Wonderlands, I made a lot of videos and tweets where I criticized the game. And I'm going to tell you again why that is, much like I did back then, just to reiterate that this is all in the name of honesty. It is my belief that Wonderlands was a very good game that was ruined by Gearbox's lack of direction, or rather their out of touch vision for the game in the post-launch cycle. I believe that the PLCs should never have been called PLCs. I thought that was a silly thing to do. I thought they should have been called Headhunters. And I also believe that a lot of the changes they made, including upping the chaos levels, is what contributed to the downfall of Wonderlands. Now, this did not stop me from, again, submitting ideas through videos and tweets for changes they could make to the game, including the Clawbringer, which I did, and those changes did make it into the game. However, Clawbringer still is not very good. Now, does that mean that I'm taking credit for Clawbringer not being very good? No. What that means is I submitted feedback, that feedback got into the game, but unfortunately, I don't own Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, pal. The devs still wanted to make the changes they had planned to the game, so regardless of what I wanted done to the game, they still follow through, and what happened, happened. Just like K6 wanted to get the world drops fixed in Borderlands 3. They did, but unfortunately, Mayhem 2.0 still happened, it was still planned. This isn't a DIY AAA game project. You don't just get to flick the light switch off and cancel all of their plans that they've been funding for months. Just to keep everyone grounded in reality here, let's remember that any time they are working on any content for any game, people are working a job. Game development, at the end of the day, is a job. If you've got 50 employees working on the PLC, however bad you might think it is for Wonderlands, if they spend 4 weeks on it, that means for 4 weeks, 50 people got paid an hourly wage to work on that. So you can't just say, oh, well, K6 doesn't like it, so let's just not release it. Because people have been paid an hourly wage to get that content done. Now, of course, there are situations where plans can change and directions can change. Sometimes the studio lead sees something and goes, that is a terrible idea, and scraps it. And in that situation, things happen. Things get left on the cutting room floor in game dev a lot. It happens, but not 100% of the time. So when K6 submits 200 feedback reports about something and only 49 of them get through, but the developers 67 get through, you end up with a jumbled, you could argue mess, you could argue masterpiece of the final product. You get a mix of that feedback with their original vision. This is how we ended up with Borderlands 2 having god-awful scaling. This is how we ended up with Borderlands 3 having Mayhem 2.0 and infinite level cap increases, this is how we ended up with Wonderlands, consistently nerfing the Clawbringer week after week after week. It is a continuous cycle of miscommunication and a difference in visions, and breaking news, it's not exclusive to Gearbox. I know that you really, really wish it was the case, Mac, because you would love to burn them to the ground, but unfortunately, that's how game dev works, pal. But we're not done yet. Let's keep moving on with this train cycle, because again, I think it's very important that we get everything out into the open so that everybody in the court of public opinion knows exactly what is going on and can make their own mind up without you leaving out key details, Mac. You also claim that once again, all of us creators are being paid into silence for not covering the leaks around the Borderlands 4 and Wonderlands 2 news. Yes, there is a reason for that, and spoiler alert, it's not paycheck related. I'll go ahead and give you, first of all, the general reason before I break into more of a in-depth explanation. A lot of the creators that cover Borderlands have gotten to know the devs at Gearbox, and not just devs, but people around Gearbox. And these people pump a lot of hard work into the products they make. This isn't just Gearbox, by the way. I personally know many developers from many companies, including AAA studios, and they put their blood, sweat, and tears into these projects. So us not talking about them isn't because we're risking our paychecks, it's because we have something that you clearly do not, Mac. Respect. I personally worked on Wonderlands Redux and Borderlands 3 Redux for over a year. These mods had a 1-year development cycle, with a team of around 4 to 5 people respectively. Now, how would I feel if somebody who was going to be covering Redux went out of their way and leaked my entire project? It would be soul crushing, and it would probably change my opinion on them. But luckily, I've never had that happen, because anybody that I have given info to about what we're working on has had respect and hasn't leaked it. Now, the reason for this isn't because I had them on a payroll, it's because, like all of the Borderlands creators who refuse to talk about these leaks, it is about respect. I say this as someone who used to be very good friends with Satmaro. Mac, I'm sure you're familiar with him and his leaks. And for a very long time, I covered these leaks. Until I started working and learning about game development, and I realized that this stuff is really, really hard. And leaking this stuff has very real consequences for the people it affects. And it does affect real people. So, no, the reason why everyone's not talking about these leaks isn't because they want to protect their paycheck. It's because they very much respect the people working on the Borderlands games, and they don't want to jeopardize that mutual respect that we've got between content creators and game developers by constantly leaking their stuff. Because if that happened, you'd be the same person, Mac, making a video saying that developers don't talk to the content creators anymore, they don't keep any of them in the loop, they just keep them in the dark because they want to steal money from them. Well, yeah, that's what's going to happen if we keep burning bridges, if we keep sitting here and tearing down relationships and leaking their projects. They're not going to want to talk to us, and I think that's a very reasonable thing to do. Once again, I will tell you guys right now, as someone who has been on both sides of the fence, that people like Killer6, Joltsdude, Moxie, they have done things for this franchise that you genuinely, and I don't mean this in a patronizing way, I really do mean this, you will never know the extent of what they have done for this franchise internally. Because, legally, they just can't say it. Because they have non-disclosure agreements, much like pretty much anybody working in gaming. Believe it or not, a content creator having direct access to give feedback to developers and publishers means they are part of game dev. They are working on making a game better. They are providing that feedback and they are building those blocks to make a game improve. That is what they are there to do for the most part. The other things they do are marketing, sponsored activations, where they stream the game. This again doesn't mean they can't criticize the game, as we have already made abundantly clear. The Borderlands community has had no problem doing that, myself, Killer6, Jolts, Moxie and others included. However, unfortunately, because Mac is on his continuous warpath to burn down everybody who wouldn't back him up when he decided to go rogue and leak internal documents from a confidential meeting, it seems as though anybody who's not constantly bashing the game and asking for the things that he wants specifically are paid shills, when in reality, a lot of people just don't care. Borderlands 4 is going to release, whether you like it or not, Mac, and these content creators are going to get sponsored deals, whether you like it or not. There might be a stream team, whether you like it or not, and people might get paid to be a part of it, whether you like it or not. These people might not criticize the game as much as you would like them to, and some of them might criticize the game too much for your liking or other people's liking, but they're gonna do that on their own judgment, not because they're paid to do that, not because they're paid into silence, not because they're paid to be a poster child for the series, but because they are literally just content creators who have been given an opportunity to have a closer relationship with the same publishers that you blew your chances with. It really is sad that instead of just accepting that you made a mistake, apologizing, moving on, and building yourself to be better, you've gone down this sad path of just constant gaslighting, reaching, lying, and avoiding the truth to smear people's reputations. You even used a picture of a shooter in a K6 video because you wanted to make it personal. And as predictable as you are, you'll probably try to do the same with me. You'll make 60 videos on me, you will try to dig into my past videos, and you will try to obfuscate details, and you will try to make me look like a paid shill, and you'll try to make it look like I'm the bad guy, because no matter what happens, it's always about playing the victim card with you, instead of just taking accountability for what you did and moving on like an adult would do. You're in your 30s and yet you still lack the comprehension needed to make adult choices. And part of me thinks you would have done that. I think you actually would have moved on, but K6 refused to let you run your mouth and told you to stop talking about him, and I think that was all you needed from that point onwards to start your tirade of being the freedom fighter for the community, when in actuality the people that are following you and the people that you think are listening to you are only doing so because they've been rejected by people who didn't want to listen to their idiocy beforehand. In fact, I'm sure in response to my video, you're probably going to dig up creators that I've beefed with in the past to try and make me look bad. They'll probably bring out their ghost stories and tell them that I beat them into submission and made them scared for 4 years. Or you might just go rogue and make 40 videos on me because your rent's due. But it's never going to change the reality of the situation, and that is Borderlands 4 is going to release. Creators are going to continue on as normal. You're going to kick and scream and try to virtue signal to get people on your side to try and tear them down. But that is all that's going to happen. But yeah, that's about it. I'm going back into hibernation now. Do keep me posted on the 40 videos Mac is going to make on me. I'm sure they will be absolutely riveting. And on a side note, I'm very, very excited for Borderlands 4. I really hope it lives up to expectations, because I do not want to have to make another Redux mod. But yeah, that's it. I mean, I literally came out of retirement just to make this video, and yeah, I'll be back when I'm getting my next $10 million. But no, on a serious note, I really just wanted to lay all the facts out for you guys. Like I said, this dude isn't going to stop screaming and shouting, which is exactly why I think it's important to have a video out there like this, which actually outlines the truth in a way which isn't misleading and actually paints the real picture so that you can have an informed opinion on what's actually going on. This isn't a drama video or anything like that, which is why the comments are disabled, because I'm not trying to witch hunt anybody or start this big uprising or big drama battle royale. I simply want to make this video because the amount of misinformation being spread by this dude is absolutely ridiculous, and I just kind of wanted to get you all on the same page. So yeah, that's about it. If you haven't already, please download Wonderlands Redux. It is one of the most popular mods in Borderlands history. Even Kotaku said it's great. And yeah, that's about it. Stay safe and have a good day.